I'm gonna sit here. Okay. Happy hump day. I'm just gonna adjust this one camera here just a little bit. Okay. Brandon's come to join me. Happy Wednesday. We're here for, oh yeah. Do you want me to move that?
You might want to, yeah.
Just a little. For self-care is the theme of this hump day. How are you feeling with those things under your eyes?
It's weird.
It's weird, yeah, for sure. Well, Shade of Wolf is loving it. Look, loving it. We're doing self-care today.
Nice.
I noticed just before we got started that you made hot chocolate.
Boozy hot chocolate.
Oh, boozy hot chocolate.
With whiskey and peppermint schnapps.
Ooh, can I have some? I want to try it.
I feel like it needs more booze.
It needs more booze.
Yeah, it'll be fine for now.
It'll be okay. I know how much he loves hot chocolate, and I haven't seen him make it in a while, so that's actually kind of nice. I was also thinking, oh, Shade of Wolf, love you both. We know who that is. Love you too. Mwah. I was trying to think, yeah. Pervert.
What? I was waving.
In a really flirty way, but that's...
That doesn't make me a pervert, that makes me a flirt.
You're a pervy flirt.
I'm also a pervert, but that's not why I'm a pervert.
I did manage to clean my room. It was really hard and took a long time, but I'm really happy that I did. Now my bedroom is like... I can't wait to go in there after this and just relax. And it'll be easier to relax knowing that my room is actually clean. And like I said earlier today, my bedroom is like the last place that gets cleaned because I'm so focused on mostly the dishes and laundry and stuff. And like my bedroom's my sanctuary, so it was a real pain in the ass to clean my room, but I'm so glad that I did it. And this morning you were like, I refuse to come up with self-care stuff for myself. But you got boozy hot chocolate. I feel like that's a definitely a you thing to do when you're in that mood.
Sure.
You're gonna like this. I came up with something that would be a good self-care thing for you.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Shaping your hair as you grow it out.
No, that's not a good self-care thing.
I'm trying to convince him to shape his hair while he grows it out.
I am resistant to the idea.
You're resistant to everything.
Mm-hmm. I am. It's really annoying sometimes, like when I'm drinking.
Oh, Thick Bunny, love the mask. Thank you. This is actually, it's from Lush. I think. I love it.
Plugging Lush now?
Oh, sure. Lush. Representatives. You want to pay me? Cool. Okay, so the thing about self-care that I think I really want to, like, send the message home is that it's not always, like, pampering fun things to do. What are you doing? He's tearing apart the Halloween gingerbread house that we made and eating it. I don't know how much that's self-care, because sugar kind of does you in.
I think dessert qualifies as self-care.
Does dessert qualify as self-care?
Sometimes.
If it's going to make you sick, that's not really self-care.
Depends. Sometimes you need to feed the soul.
Mm-hmm. Thick Bunny, I'm going to mask up too. Do it! Oh my god, do it with us. Okay, so some form of self-care. And I mean, I guess, do we have to go into defining what self-care is? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's like doing things for yourself to help you fill up your cup. Because, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. That whole kind of, I know it seems cliche, but in order to be like your best self at work, at home, whatever, like you do need to take the time to take care of yourself. And I don't want to sound too old and like blame devices and social media and stuff, but I do think with the ability of like texting and scheduling that we have nowadays, it's so much easier to take on so much stuff that we tend to just completely exhaust ourselves and completely book ourselves up, and we don't take time for ourselves. So sometimes there are ways you can do that. Some of them are easier and nicer, like, you know, putting a face mask on. It's so relaxing. I really love lighting candles. I'm actually excited that the weather's getting a little bit colder because I can light candles. Like in the summer, I don't ever do it, but I find it very soothing and relaxing. I love lighting candles. So I'm actually, yeah, excited that it's cold enough that I'm going to want to light my candles again. And And other forms of self-care are not necessarily as fun, but they do help you function better, like cleaning my bedroom.
Cleaning your space, yeah.
Cleaning your space. That's a hard one, especially my bedroom. I do struggle with that. But when I do it, I'm like, oh, this feels so nice. I feel so much better. Nick's funny. Absolutely. Cuddle weather. Yeah, I can't cuddle in the summer. I'm just like, no. So Brandon, what are some forms of self-care that work for you? I already know of one, but I want to hear one of yours.
I don't know, I tend to spend a lot of time hiding in my room playing video games.
That's exactly what I was thinking. But why do you play video games? This I've only really learned recently because he's an internal processor. You described it recently in a way that kind of made me understand.
Well, sometimes, I mean, most of the time it's just because I enjoy playing video games. But sometimes it's when I'm processing heavy thoughts and emotions and stuff like that. My brain tends to want to do that. I do that in my subconscious more than like my forward conscious mind. So I tend to withdraw, and I'll just go and I'll play video games and not think about very much, and just do really basic things with my brain for a couple days while most of my CPU is doing other things.
That makes sense. Like once you
Background
said that, I
processes.
was like, that makes sense. Whereas earlier, it mostly just annoyed the shit out of me that you'd play video games, especially when there was something going on.
Yeah.
I'm an external processor. Excuse me, an external processor.
You can do it.
And would be like, just talk, let's just talk about it. And he'd be like, I'm gonna go play video games. And it would piss me off. But I'm starting to get it now, that that's just something that he needs to do in order to process on his own. And it also kind of helped me understand why you like sleep so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because we tend to subconsciously process a lot of our day-to-day and bigger things while we're sleeping.
Yeah, that whole like sleep on it thing, that's for introverts, because we do a lot of our processing and like transferring stuff from our conscious mind to our subconscious to our conscious, or like our thoughts into our data bank and stuff while we're sleeping. So things make a lot more sense in the morning a lot of the time.
For internal processors.
Yes.
Yeah. Tiani Love says, yeah, I do that with playing Sims or watching guilty pleasure reality TV shows.
Yeah, because you don't have to think about that stuff, right? It's really, really basic. Like, there's no real thought process put into any of that. You're just kind of, like, functioning on a really basic level so that all of your, like, actual processing and stuff like that can take place in the background while you're not...
I think there's a child out of bed.
Mommy,
I think you're
can you help
definitely
me
right.
fix
Can you take care of that, please?
Can you fix the blanket?
Go take care of that, please, Daddy.
The slinky?
Sorry.
Come on.
Children.
Bed.
Which is why I almost always do my self-care typically after the kids are in bed. It's the only time I really get that's on my own. It's hard when I do like teach in the evenings. Sometimes I have clients in the evenings. Same with when they're at school. I either have clients or I'm like cleaning the house and stuff like that. Tiani Love, writing. Oh yeah, I haven't even finished reading that yet. Writing can be a form of self-care for me, and just laughing with friends, especially with a lot of wine. Yes. That's a really good point, actually. I have written, I've written 2 books, and I found it so therapeutic. Sometimes it would be especially difficult, like if I was writing something really hard or kind of poring over it, but then there were times, especially when I was able to really get kind of in the writing groove and things would just start pouring out and I'd feel really good, and like words can't describe how amazing that is. That's actually a really interesting form of self-care as well.
Writing is definitely
writing, yeah, writing, or like I know folks that do poetry, and yeah, add some booze to that.
You didn't see that.
Thick Ski Bunny, I loved your rope class. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so, some of this is not necessarily self-care, it's more just, like, how you process and stuff, because, like, a lot of, like, with writing, for me, for example, is a lot of how I process things, but that's not really self-care, that's just how I figure stuff out sometimes.
There's a lot of gray areas. I would argue at least 50 shades of them.
Go away. Nobody wants to hear that.
Okay. Taylor Prescott, post bedtime. Zen is where it's at, yeah, for the parents.
And writing.
And 10 out of 10, agree with the writing. Writing can be really powerful. I know people that like paint or have other kind of artistic avenues that are really good for just like feeding their soul. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's one. Sorry, I gotta fix my like headband situation here. Being around queer spaces. I would argue that's a form of self-care because sometimes I love doing it and sometimes I'm feeling really antisocial or I'm just exhausted from all the work and parenting and stuff that I do. But then I go to a queer space and it feeds my soul.
It's nourishing.
It's very, very nourishing
but
to
again,
be just in a space of queer folks or like a women's space or something like that can be really powerful.
That's not really self-care.
Is that self-care?
Though.
Like, help me out here.
Like, self-care is taking care of yourself. It's like in the name is the description of the thing,
mm-hmm.
right?
Being in queer spaces and women's spaces is a form of self-care. I would argue that.
Yeah, okay, fine. It's just weird.
It doesn't have to be normal. It can be weird. Some people can
because I'm introverted.
You're introverted. You were also like a very privileged demographic,
mm-hmm.
right? You're a straight
That doesn't mean there are spaces that are not like nourishing to me too.
That's true. That's true.
Different.
I just mean like maybe you aren't as aware of like the marginalization and how much more nourishing it can be to be in a space that is not usually.
I'm aware of. I mean, I know without understanding. You know what I mean? Like, because I can't ever really understand. Because I mean, I don't have to go through any of it. So. Mm-hmm. But.
Tiani Love says it's the best, especially. I'm sorry, it's hard to read from far away. Oh, like queer POC spaces for me. Yeah, I am white, so I certainly can't relate to like POC spaces, but I have heard from like, you know, the POC people in like the queer and kinky communities that they have like POC spaces and they talk about how much they crave it and how much they need it in their lives. And yeah, I can't imagine how powerful that is. Taylor Prescott, anything that fills the soul is self-care. I agree. I think that it could be a number of things. As long as it's not destructive. If it fills your soul and if it helps fill your cups, like I kind of say. Which is why, and I wouldn't put conferences or anything like that on my list of self-care. Because, I mean, usually I'm working, I'm teaching.
Conferences aren't self-care. I don't care what kind of, because I mean, anything that you have drop afterwards isn't self-care.
But
because
the thing
it's intrinsically stressful.
I kind of tend to say that conferences fill some buckets and empty others. Like, I'm completely exhausted and wiped, but depending on what kind of conference it is, it kind of feeds my soul sometimes, especially if it's queer or kink-related. Other forms of self-care might include... Oh, I got a good one. I got a really good one. Making a really, like, healthy, decent meal. I know some folks, I don't want to name names, that maybe live downstairs. Sometimes like struggles, especially when they're really stressed out about like eating healthy and eating something, especially because like money's a thing, and like eating something that is like super nutritional and like takes time to make. And so I have a habit of like making a really big meal and then being like, hey, I made way too much food, you should come up and eat. And just because I feel better knowing they've eaten a good meal. And they've told me, they're like, I need to have a good healthy meal this week. I should probably try and do that. And then whenever they do, they're like so happy that they did it and they feel better.
But it's so hard to put the work in when you're just feeding yourself. So hard.
Yes. Feeding yourself is difficult. And also like money is a thing and time. Like it does take time and effort to like cook a tasty, nutritious meal.
Well, that's why it takes so much effort.
Yeah. But I would call that a form of self-care. Mm-hmm. I want to hear some others. I'd been asking... Sorry, I got to change my legs going numb. I'd been asking some folks, like, over the week what their forms of self-care are. And I've had a few, I'm trying to remember them now, but I know I got a couple people say that cleaning was one, like cleaning their house and cleaning their space was a really good form of self-care, but maybe not easy for them to do. And scheduling time just for themselves.
Yeah. A good example is like taking a bath instead of taking a shower. Like for some people that's just I mean, like you're still washing yourself, but a bath is just so much more like relaxed and
I miss our old bathtub.
Can be very nice.
We had such a great bathtub at our old place, and now I can barely fit in this one.
It's a normal bathtub.
And it's like sitting in a little puddle. If I can't put my boobs and my knees in it, like, I'm not happy.
Wow.
I have to be able to fit my boobs and my knees in the bathtub at the same time.
I can never do that, so.
No?
No.
What? Okay. You could in the old one that we had. That was a beautiful tub. Anyways.
I don't remember. I never tried.
Shade of Wolf for me. Oh, exercise. That's a really good one, especially yoga. Fixer baths. Fixer baths? What's fixer baths? But exercise. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I keep saying I need to get back into it because it was just more of like a...
It used to be a big part of your self-care.
It was a really big part of my self-care for a long time. Basically until I had kids.
Yeah.
And
it became almost impossible.
It became almost impossible to do. Hashtag no advice, please.
Once they're both in school, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah. But yeah, I found it always really helped with like anxiety and stress as a really good way of relieving stress. Now it's more like I just kind of rage clean now. Rage cleaning is my exercise at this moment.
Or stairs.
Or stairs, yeah. Sometimes when I do this, especially when I'm really anxious, I'll set my timer for 10 minutes and I'll just run up and down the stairs for 10 minutes and it'll knock me out and it's really good. The kids will try to join, but they only go for a minute and then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, thank you.
It still doesn't taste very boozy, but it's working. It's definitely working better now.
That's much better. A Shade of Wolf, they fix me when I'm broken. Like workouts?
Oh, no, baths, you goober.
Oh, baths.
Fixer baths. They
okay.
fix...
Thank you. When I was a teenager especially, and I get really, really stressed, I would go to the batting cages and let off steam. With that would be self-care.
Yeah, can be.
I loved going to the batting cages. It is a good way to let off some steam because it's a workout and you're just hitting things and they just keep coming to you. You just keep swinging. Now I hit people.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I don't know. All my self-care is like sleeping, playing video games, and sleeping and writing. That's pretty much what
Tiani Love says, ooh, yeah, thank you for bringing this up. Rituals or meditation practices. Candles always help relieve stress for me too. Yeah, I mentioned that. I love candles. Thank you for mentioning like rituals. And for a lot of people, spirituality might be one of those. Brandon and I are not very spiritual people, so like that didn't even occur to me. But that's a really good point. That some people really do have certain rituals and practices and spirituality that is definitely a form of self-care because it feeds the soul. Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you.
Ritual can be really good for programming your brain to do certain things. If you do the same thing, well, if you do the same thing repetitively with the intent of like calming yourself and like accessing your calm spaces and stuff like that, you can definitely create rituals, even if you're not religious, that are really good at calming you and feeding your soul. Yeah.
A Shade of Wolf says, time alone to masturbate is actually good too. Yes. We're both like, yeah.
That's why you're one of my favorites.
No, I totally agree with that. I've said this before, and it happens. There are times when I'm like really agitated and just like everything is irritating me and I can't figure out why. And I have a moment of like, when is the last time I had an orgasm? And it's usually, in that case, it's been a while. And so I'll masturbate and then I'm like, why was I so pissed off at everything? I feel so much better. And that can also mean that doesn't have to be masturbation necessarily, but even like sex with other people. because we would experience that when we were romantic and sexual as well, where we'd just kind of be short with each other and we're like, we haven't had sex in a while, we should just have sex. And then we'd be like, why were we so pissed off at each other? Do you remember that? It was a long time ago.
Not really.
It was a long time ago, like before kids. Shade of Wolf, pretty sure self-care is a very physical thing to me. And on that note, my stress comes out physically for me first too. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Physically, like as in you feel ill or agitated, like physically, like can't stop moving.
Or you can get like really like stiff necks and shoulders from like the stress. Is that what you mean by like physically? Or like you can break out when you're super stressed. Stress is hard on your body.
Stress can do a lot of interesting things to your body. Like your digestive tract is one of the more susceptible to stress. Mm-hmm. Your shoulders and your neck and your back and stuff can tense up really bad.
My neck, my back, my pussy, and my crack.
What's wrong with you?
I can't help it. Yeah, so oh my god, there's like so many different ways. And I keep thinking of more and more that are really, really good. Yeah. So, those are my 2 cents on like self-care.
Those are some good examples of self-care, but like, I don't know, do you want to talk about like why you need self-care? Because not everybody even does self-care. Like,
no, well, I went into that a little bit earlier about like basically that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, but you didn't explain any of that. You just said you can't pour from an empty cup. You didn't give them the whole reference.
That's all you need. No!
Because you can't pour from an empty cup is like a whole thing. It's like a philosophy. You can't just say you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to elaborate on that.
Why don't you elaborate on that?
Okay, well, I guess it's not that complicated, but... well, it's
not that complicated. You can't pour from an empty cup, meaning you are not going to be as good, and I said this, of a parent, a good of a friend, a good of a partner, a good at work. You're not going to be as good at doing other things if your cup is empty. It's like that, you know, in the airplane, you have to put your mask on first before you can put on somebody else's. Yeah. You know, you're not going to be able to do that stuff unless you've taken care of yourself. So when you find yourself really running thin on energy, on spoons, on everything, like you need to step back and do something for yourself. And then you will find yourself a more productive, efficient, happier, less stressed person that is just better at adulting and peopling. Mm-hmm.
Some people's cups are really empty and they need help all the time. And sometimes you need to fill your own cup before you can help them. And it feels selfish, especially if you want to help other people. Mm-hmm. But it's really important not to let your fear of seeming selfish override your need to take care of yourself, especially with someone that needs help a lot.
Yeah.
So it can be hard setting boundaries and stuff, and boundaries is another good form of self-care, sort of, or at least protecting yourself so that you need less self-care. Boundaries are important.
A shade of wolf, like headaches, tense jaws, back knee is the telltale sign I need self-care.
Hugs.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't.
No?
No.
Wow. Brass knuckles, you have to do things that give you energy since we're always putting out energy. Yeah. That like goes quite directly with the whole pouring from the cup. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also says, favorite thing is to spend time with the few people that will fill each other's cups when we spend quality time. So good. You have that in your life? That's amazing. No, I do have that as well. It's just like, it also takes energy for me to go out of the house and like socialize and stuff. So it's one of those things for me, socializing is one of those typically the things that like fills some cups and empties others. Because I really want to be home in my space, and I do have a hard time with
anxiety and stuff like that.
I have really bad anxiety like leaving the house. And I mentioned this morning, because that's the case, I find it's really important for me to get out of the house regularly, even if that means just going for a short walk. That will totally lower my anxiety. If it's been 2 or 3 days since I've left the house, it becomes difficult for me to leave. So like the more I do it, the easier it is. So I try to make sure I do it regularly.
The benefits of having kids means you can't stay in the house very long.
Or you can. No, not really.
because the kids go batshit crazy.
That's true. That's true. They have forced me out of the house more, I guess.
More than a couple times.
Yeah. I have them over. That's so my trick. I'll be like, just come over. But I mean, at the same time, it's also easier for people to come here because I have kids. And so it's like, okay, they're in bed now, we can hang out. Yeah. As opposed to like, if I have to go out, I have to find childcare. So.
Or I have to stay home.
Or you have to stay home. Or
Which
vice versa.
I do frequently, but so do you.
Yeah. We do that for each other.
We trade, but it's hard to plan. Sometimes. Things overlap.
Yeah. So that's important. But yeah, on the note of socializing, I've said this recently too. I feel like dating has been a thing that I feel like I've needed lately, and how good it makes me feel to like, because it's been a while. I haven't been focused on dating in a long time, and now I'm like, I go out and I don't know, it just makes me feel good to like flirt and have sexy times and connect. Yeah, and I was like, I feel so good about myself now. So that might be a form of self-care too. There's lots of things. Getting yourself out there, socializing. Or if it means staying at home, it could be something totally different. It's whatever you need.
Some people probably use drugs for self-care.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of like, as long as it's not harmful to yourself. Like binge drinking obviously is not a form of self-care.
No.
And like, but some drugs, like I know
Everything
that there's
in
a lot,
moderation.
especially with certain like psychedelics, can be really good for mental health.
Ketamines are apparently really good for depression.
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, just be careful.
Your mileage may vary.
Your mileage may vary. Well, and just make sure you're getting from a safe, reliable source. That's my biggest concern. But, anyways, that's a little bit of a different topic. How are your
It's not that big.
under eye things feeling?
Squishy?
Squishy. I gave him these to put on for under the eye bags. I love using them.
I have rather dark bags under my eyes.
You're a parent and you work graveyard shifts. I think that's valid.
I always have though.
Yeah, me too.
I'm just because I'm a vampire.
Because you're baggy.
I'm baggy. Bad person.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I think, call that a night then, because this is starting to get really dry. I need to wash it off. And the kids are still making noise. I hope you can't hear them, but I'm ready to go Haggard Dragon Mom on them. Go to bed! With the face mask and everything, and like a cigarette hanging out of my mouth. That's how I gotta do it. Go to bed, you kids! I gotta do my self-care!
Get off my lawn!
Okay. Thank you for joining me. Oh, A Shade of Wolf says, night, guys.
Night.
And I'm still toying with what topic to go over next week. So I think I'm just going to throw a couple of ideas out there. Please message me or comment or whatever. Let me know what you really like in terms of a topic for next week's Hump Day Q&A. I've got a few ideas. I was thinking one would be sex, postmenopausal sex. I think would be a really good topic. I've had a lot of questions about folks that are postmenopausal and sex, postmenopause. I have a lot of clients with the concerns of premature ejaculation. That's another topic that I can cover. And another one that I think is a really good topic, but I don't know how I feel talking about it by myself, is like dating. See, this is a tough one. I want to say like dating and having friends and stuff, like meeting people that are trans. There's not enough excuse me, education out there on trans folks, and too many times with like hanging out with my like trans friends, people will come up to us, excuse me, and ask really inappropriate questions that are really like triggering for them and super inappropriate. And so I'm like, I want to talk about this more in terms of like what's okay to ask, what's not okay to ask, and like, come on. So, but I feel like I don't want to talk about that being like a cisgender person, but I feel like it's a topic that needs to get discussed. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that, because I think we need to talk about trans folks more, and at least educate on like the community of trans folks and the fact that it's their body, and just respect them. Like, I feel like that's really, really obvious and straightforward, but I get curiosity. So I guess that's why I'm here. Having said that, You can ask me anything. That's like my job. You can ask me anything, and I'm not gonna like, I know there's a fear of people getting upset, which is a totally reasonable response, because a lot of these folks that have questions, whether they're trans, queer, POC, that get questions that are really inappropriate, and they're tired of explaining, and so they might get really upset. I'm not gonna get upset. You can ask me anything. That's what I'm here for. I'm a safe like person in terms of asking something. You won't offend me, and if you do, then I'm just not going to talk to you. Okay, I have to go. I need to wash off this face stuff. Oh, we got somebody, Brassica Knuckles. I love that name. Maybe how to be a good cis friend partner to trans folk. That's a better way of putting it. Thank you so much for putting that. But that's, I really want to do that kind of topic. So message me privately, comment, whatever it is. I love kind of hearing what people want to discuss. Those are some of my thoughts. Let me know what you want for next week for Hump Day Q&A. Other than that, take care of yourself. Try to do something this week that could be considered self-care, even if it's 5 minutes of meditation, because it helps. I'm gonna go wash my face. It's starting to get itchy. Good night. Mwah. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Brandon. Bye. And bye.